There is a feeling that defines modern life more than any other. It's not sadness. It's not anger. It is the low, persistent, humming static of overwhelm. It's the feeling of drowning in a sea of open tabs, both on your computer and in your mind. The feeling of ending each day utterly depleted, having given everything to your job, your family, your to-do list, with nothing left for yourself. It is the quiet, crushing weight of simply too much. And in the face of this feeling, we tell ourselves a story of personal failure. I'm not organized enough. I'm not strong enough. I should be able to handle this. We treat our burnout as a weakness, an enemy to be pushed through, to be overcome with more coffee, more hustle, more effort. But what if your exhaustion is not your enemy? What if your burnout is not a sign of your weakness, but a message of your soul's profound wisdom? The great psychologist Carl Jung understood that the psyche is a living, breathing ecosystem, and its primary goal is always balance. He taught that when we are chronically overwhelmed, it is not because we are broken. It is because we have become dangerously unbalanced. Our exhaustion is a desperate, sacred message, a call to return. This is a different kind of shadow work. It is not about facing a monster in the dark. It is about learning to listen to the wise, exhausted teacher within. Today, we will not learn how to manage your overwhelm. We will learn to decipher its message and to finally honor its call to come back home, to your own inner center.
To decipher the message of our overwhelm, we must first understand the language it speaks. And to understand that language, we must look at the culture that taught it to us. We live in a world that worships at the altar of more productivity, more achievement, more speed, more optimization. Busyness has become a status symbol. Exhaustion is worn as a badge of honor. Our value as human beings has become dangerously entangled with our output, with our ability to do, to produce, to perform. This is the central myth of what is often called hustle culture, and it has created a powerful collective persona, the persona of the productive person. The productive person is always on. Their calendar is always full. They respond to emails within minutes. They juggle a career, a family, a side hustle, a fitness regimen. They don't rest, they recharge. They don't have hobbies, they have personal development projects. They are efficient. They are capable. They are in control. And they are deeply, profoundly admired. We see this persona everywhere, on social media, in our workplaces, in our own aspirations. And we learn a simple, powerful equation. My busyness equals my worth. My productivity equals my value. In the language of Carl Jung, we have over-identified with this one-sided way of being. We have mistaken this social mask for our true face. And whenever we over-identify with one side of life, we are forced to do something with its opposite. We must repress it, deny it, exile it to the shadow. So what is the opposite of the productive person? What is the shadow of hustle culture? It is stillness. It is rest. It is slowness. It is simply being without the need for doing. It is the unproductive, inefficient, and beautifully messy reality of being a human being. We have cast these qualities into the collective shadow. We have labeled them lazy, undisciplined, a waste of time. And we have become terrified of them in ourselves. Let's think about Chloe again, our nurse and mother. She has a rare afternoon off. Her children are at a friend's house. She sits down on her sofa with a cup of tea and thinks, finally, a moment to do nothing. She closes her eyes. And within 60 seconds, the anxiety begins. A voice in her head starts its relentless chatter. You could be doing laundry. You should be meal prepping for the week. You haven't checked your work emails yet. Resting is for people who have earned it. You haven't done enough today. She feels a wave of guilt, a sense of unease. The stillness, instead of feeling peaceful, feels threatening. So, she gets up. She puts the laundry in. She cleans the kitchen. She fills the empty space with tasks. She puts the mask of the productive person back on. And she feels a familiar sense of control and a deeper, more profound sense of exhaustion. This is the shadow work of our time. It is the recognition that our addiction to busyness is not a sign of our strength. It is a symptom of our deepest fear. The fear of the emptiness. The fear of what we might find if we ever truly stop. What feelings might surface. What uncomfortable truths might finally emerge. What grief might we finally have to feel. Busyness is the most socially acceptable anesthetic. It is a brilliant strategy to avoid the messy, unpredictable, and often painful reality of our own inner world. The constant state of overwhelm is the price we pay for this avoidance. We are running from ourselves and calling it a career. We are drowning in tasks and calling it a life. But the psyche, as Carl Jung taught, will not be ignored. It is a self-correcting system. It will always, always seek balance. You can ignore its gentle whispers for a time. You can distract yourself from its quiet invitations to slow down. But eventually, if the imbalance becomes too great, the psyche will be forced to send a message you cannot ignore. It will shout. And that shout is the experience of burnout. It is the moment the system overloads and initiates an emergency shutdown. The sudden, debilitating fatigue, the brain fog that makes simple tasks feel impossible, the emotional numbness, the loss of motivation, the feeling of deep, cynical despair. This is not a moral failing. It is a biological and psychological inevitability. You have pushed the pendulum so far in the direction of doing that the system is now violently swinging back in the direction of being, even if that being takes the form of lying on the sofa unable to move. This is the soul's desperate last-ditch effort to restore balance. And this natural self-correcting principle of the psyche has a name in Jungian psychology, a name that holds the key to understanding and ultimately healing our collective state of overwhelm.
The name for this self-correcting principle of the psyche is Enantiodromia. It's a Greek word used by the ancient philosopher Heraclitus and later adopted by Carl Jung as a central concept in his psychology. It literally means running towards the opposite. Enantiodromia is the law of the pendulum. It is the principle that everything that exists, when taken to its extreme, will inevitably swing back into its opposite. Day turns into night. Summer turns into winter. An inhale becomes an exhale. Life is a dance of these opposites, and the human psyche is no different. When we become too one-sided in our conscious attitude, when we push ourselves relentlessly in one direction, the unconscious will begin to build up the energy of the opposite pole. And at a certain point, the pendulum will swing, often with a force that feels violent and disruptive. For years, you have been pushing the pendulum with all your might in the direction of doing, of productivity, of control, of external achievement. You have been living in a perpetual summer of action. But you cannot have an endless summer. The soul, like the earth, needs its seasons. It needs a winter, a time of rest, of turning inward, of allowing the soil to become fallow. Your burnout, your overwhelm, your exhaustion, this is Enantiodromia in action. It is the pendulum swinging back. It is the soul crying out for winter. It is not a punishment. It is a correction. It is a desperate, intelligent, and ultimately loving act of self-regulation. Let's re-examine Chloe's experience through this lens. Her constant busyness, her need to be productive even on her day off, this was the extreme push of the pendulum. Her burnout, the sudden inability to function, the deep fatigue, this was the pendulum swinging back. Her body and soul were forcing upon her the very thing she had exiled to her shadow: rest, stillness, being. This is a profound and liberating reframing of our exhaustion. It is not a sign that you are weak. It is a sign that the law of balance is working perfectly within you. Your soul is wiser than your ego. It knows that a life lived only in the light of conscious, focused effort becomes a desert. It needs the darkness, the quiet, the mystery of the unconscious to be whole. The shadow work required here is not to fight the swing of the pendulum. You cannot. It is a law of nature. To fight it is to create more suffering. It is to lie on the sofa, exhausted, while berating yourself for being lazy, creating a vicious cycle of burnout and shame. The real shadow work is to learn to recognize the swing, to honor it, and to cooperate with it. This is where we must make another vital distinction: the distinction between being busy and being effective. Being busy is a state of the ego. It is about motion, activity, ticking boxes. It is often fueled by anxiety, by the need to prove one's worth, by the fear of emptiness. Being busy is about spreading your energy thin across 100 different tasks, leaving you feeling scattered and depleted. It is the energy of the frantic surface of the ocean. Being effective is a state of the self. It is about alignment, purpose, intention. It is fueled by a deep, quiet connection to what truly matters. Being effective is about gathering your energy and applying it with focused power to a few essential things. It requires the ability to say no to the 100 things that don't matter, and to say a deep, resounding yes to the one thing that does. It is the energy of the deep, powerful current beneath the surface. To move from a life of busyness to a life of effectiveness, we must be willing to embrace the shadow. We must be willing to embrace the unproductive, the inefficient, the still. Because it is only in the stillness that we can hear the whisper of the self. It is only in the quiet that we can discern what is truly essential. Imagine a man named David, a 42-year-old startup founder. His life was the epitome of hustle culture: 16-hour days, endless meetings, constant pressure to grow. He identified completely with the persona of the high-achieving entrepreneur. Then, Enantiodromia hit. He experienced a severe burnout that left him with chronic fatigue and brain fog. The pendulum had swung. His body and soul were forcing upon him the very thing he had exiled to his shadow: rest, stillness, being. At first, he fought it. He felt ashamed, weak, a failure. But through his own journey of shadow work, he began to listen. He was forced to cancel meetings, to delegate tasks, to say no. And in the empty space that was created, something new began to emerge. He started taking long walks in nature without his phone. He rediscovered his love for playing the guitar. He had more unstructured time with his family. And a strange thing happened. His business didn't collapse. In fact, in his newfound stillness, he began to have his clearest, most creative ideas. He realized that 80% of his busyness had been driven by anxiety and was yielding very little result. By embracing the stillness, by cooperating with the swing of the pendulum, he moved from being busy to being truly effective. He had to lose control to find a deeper sense of direction. This is the promise that Carl Jung offers us, that our symptoms are not our enemies. They are our guides. Your overwhelm is your guide. It is pointing the way back to balance. It is inviting you to honor the seasons of your own soul, to accept that there is a time for planting and a time for lying fallow, a time for action and a time for deep, restorative rest. Your exhaustion is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of a wiser one.
A wiser story, one that honors the seasons of the soul. This is the invitation. But how do we begin to live this new story when the pull of the old one, the story of more, is so strong? We cannot simply will ourselves to be balanced. The overwhelm we feel is not just a mental state, it is a physical one. Our nervous systems are hijacked, stuck in a state of hyperarousal, of fight or flight. We are lost in the chaotic storm of our own thoughts, worries, and to-do lists. To find balance, we must first find the ground. We must come back into our bodies. This is a central tenet of shadow work. The body is the vessel of the unconscious. It holds the wisdom that the mind has forgotten. To reconnect with our inner center, we must first reconnect with our physical center. I want to offer you a simple, profound, and immediate practice for doing this. It is a grounding exercise you can do anywhere, anytime you feel that familiar wave of overwhelm beginning to crest. It takes less than 60 seconds. I call it the 5 senses anchor. The next time you feel your mind spinning, your heart racing, that feeling of being scattered in 1,000 directions, I want you to stop just for a moment. Stop what you are doing. And if you can, put your feet flat on the floor. Feel the solid ground beneath you. Now, you will gently guide your attention through your 5 senses as a way to pull your awareness out of the storm of your thoughts and back into the reality of the present moment. First, name 5 things you can see. Out loud if you can, quietly to yourself if you can't. Don't just glance at them, really see them. I see the blue of my coffee mug. I see the texture of the wood grain on my desk. I see the way the light is catching that dust particle in the air. I see the green of the plant in the corner. I see the lines on the back of my own hand. 5 things. Slowly, deliberately. Next, name 4 things you can feel. Bring your awareness to the physical sensations of your body. I can feel the warmth of my sweater on my arms. I can feel the solid pressure of the chair supporting my back. I can feel the cool, smooth surface of my phone in my hand. I can feel a slight breeze from the window on my cheek. 4 things. The act of noticing physical sensation is a powerful anchor to the here and now. Then, name 3 things you can hear. Listen past the loud noises and tune into the subtle soundscape around you. I can hear the distant hum of the refrigerator. I can hear the soft clicking of my own keyboard. I can hear the sound of my own breath rising and falling. 3 sounds. This pulls your focus outward and then gently back inward. Next, name 2 things you can smell. This sense is deeply connected to the most primal parts of our brain. Take a slow breath in. I can smell the faint scent of coffee from my coffee mug. I can smell the dusty, papery scent of the book next to me. 2 smells, however subtle. And finally, name 1 thing you can taste. This brings your awareness right into your own body. I can taste the lingering hint of mint from my toothpaste this morning. Or simply, I can notice the neutral, watery taste inside my own mouth. 1 taste. Now, take 1 final deep breath. And just notice. Notice the shift. The storm in your head has not disappeared, but you are no longer in the middle of it. You have found the eye of the storm. You have found the ground. You have come back home, to your body, to this present moment. This practice is a form of embodied shadow work. The persona of the productive person lives entirely in the future-oriented, planning, worrying mind. The shadow of being lives in the sensory reality of the present moment. By practicing the 5 senses anchor, you are consciously choosing to step out of the tyranny of the persona and into the grounded wisdom of the shadow. You are honoring the part of you that knows how to simply be. This is not a magic cure for a busy life. It will not do your laundry for you. But what it does is far more profound. It creates a pause, a sacred gap in the relentless stream of doing. And in that gap, balance can be found. In that gap, you can reconnect with your inner center. In that gap, you can ask a wiser question. Instead of, what do I need to do next? You can ask, what is truly essential right now? The more you practice this, the more you will find that your relationship with your own energy begins to change. You start to notice the early warning signs of overwhelm instead of waiting for the full-blown burnout. You become a better steward of your own life force. This is the path of inner balance that Carl Jung's work illuminates. It is not about achieving a perfect static state of Zen. It is the dynamic, ongoing practice of noticing when the pendulum has swung too far and gently, compassionately guiding it back to the center. 1 breath, 1 sensation, 1 moment at a time.
1 moment at a time. This is how we find our way back. Not through grand gestures or life overhauls, but through the quiet, consistent practice of returning to the center. We began this journey drowning in the modern epidemic of overwhelm, blaming ourselves for not being strong enough to handle the relentless demands of life. We then traveled into the heart of Carl Jung's psychology to discover a liberating truth. Our burnout is not a weakness, but a wise biological correction. It is the law of the pendulum, Enantiodromia, the the soul's desperate and intelligent call for balance. We learned to reframe our exhaustion not as an enemy, but as a teacher. A teacher whose primary lesson is to distinguish between the frantic, anxiety-driven state of being busy and the calm, purposeful state of being effective. This is a core practice of shadow work. And finally, we were given a simple, powerful tool, the 5 senses anchor, to pull ourselves out of the storm of our thoughts and back into the grounding reality of our bodies. A way to practice honoring the exiled shadow of being right in the middle of a world that screams at us to do. This journey toward inner balance is not about becoming less productive. It is about becoming sustainably productive. It is about learning that the most powerful work you can do often happens in the moments you are doing nothing at all. It is in the stillness that the true priorities are revealed. It is in the rest that the creative well is refilled. It is in the balance that we find our true, enduring strength. But as you begin to practice this, as you step off the hamster wheel of constant doing and create more space in your life, a new and perhaps even more profound question may begin to surface. In the quiet, once the noise of the to-do list has faded, a deeper voice may ask, "What is all of this for? What is my true purpose? Am I living the life I was truly meant to live?" This existential questioning, this doubt about your purpose, is not a distraction. It is the natural next step on the path of individuation. It is the soul, having found its balance, now asking for its direction. Understanding this inner calling is the next great adventure in our work together, and it is exactly what we will explore in our next video. I invite you to subscribe to continue this profound journey inward. For now, your work is to find your ground, to become an anchor in your own storm. And to begin, I invite you to join our community in a simple act of presence. In the comments below, share one small detail from your present moment using one of your 5 senses. You could write, "I can hear the sound of the rain," or "I can feel the warmth of my tea," or "I can see the color blue." Let this space become a collective anchor, a reminder that in a world that constantly pulls us into the future, the greatest act of rebellion and the deepest source of our peace is the simple, courageous act of arriving fully in the here and now.